Hey, this is Black Think Tank. Close to elections, the left wing and liberal media will jump on stories and frame them to make you conclude that their opposition is racist and or inhumane. By doing this, their aim is to make you think that only a racist, immoral, money-grabbing, cold callous ish would vote for their opponent or support their opponent. And you don't want to be seen as a cold, callous, money-grabbing ish, do you? You don't want to be associated with inhumane and racist people or politicians, right? So you support and vote for the left-wing or liberal candidate or the left-wing political party to prove to yourself, but more importantly, to prove to others that you're a good person. Getting you to support and vote for their candidate Joe Biden is what left-wing media was trying to achieve when they pumped the George Floyd killing on every one of their channels just before the US 2020 elections. Getting you to support the Democrats is what the left-wing media was doing when they pumped the Rodney King beating and LA riots on all of their channels before the 1992 US elections where Bill Clinton defeated President George Bush. Getting you to support Obama in 2012 is what they were doing when they pushed the Trayvon Martin killing on all their platforms. And the liberal media tried the same thing with the timing of when they released the Child Q report, which was shortly before the UK local elections of 2022. And the liberal left-wing media are at it again, trying hard to do the same thing with the ship them back to Africa, Priti Patel Rwanda plan. You've heard about the Rwanda plan, the refugee asylum seeker Rwanda plan, right? Well, I'm going to prove it to you that they frame things to make it virtually impossible for someone who disagrees to support that thing that they framed. This Sunday, 24th of April, on LBC, a presenter on the UK's largest talk radio station, Tom Schwabrick, said the Rwanda plan was copied from Australia, which had a similar asylum seeker plan in 2013.
This policy has been borrowed from Australia, who have a not dissimilar policy where under the Pacific solution, the governments of Australia have for nearly the past 2 decades taken illegal migrants, also making perilous crossings by boat, to offshore detention centres in Papua New Guinea.
Now, most black people know about what Australians did to the Aborigines. It wasn't nice. And black people who have watched that programme, nothing to declare, border security, Australia's front line. You know that airport thing where you go through and all the dark-skinned people always get stopped and searched, right? And those of us that saw what happened to Novak Djokovic at the Australian Tennis Open in 2022 feel that Australia is a racist and pretty inhumane kind of country. So, the left-wing media know we will conclude that Priti Patel's Rwanda plan is also racist and inhumane if they say it's borrowed or inspired by the Australian asylum seekers plan. Birds of a feather flock together, don't they? But, and this is a big but, what would we conclude if LBC's Tom Schwabrick told us that the Rwanda plan was inspired by Obama and the Democrat Party? Would we conclude that the Rwanda plan was then racist if he'd told us that? Of course not. The fact is, wanting to ship asylum seekers to Africa, go back to Africa, was first done in 2004 and 2005 by Tony Blair. 10 years before the Australians did it. That's Tony Blair of the Labour Party UK. Yes, Tony Blair wanted to ship asylum seekers back to Africa. Yes, Tony Blair and the Labour Party wanted black people to go back to Africa. Now, where was Diane Abbott and her cause of racism then? Now, would Bill Clinton have beaten one-term President George Bush Sr. in the 1992 US elections if it wasn't for Rodney King and the LA riots? No. Would Democrat Joe Biden have beaten one-term President Donald Trump Sr. in the 2020 US elections if it wasn't for the George Floyd Black Lives Matter protests and the Muslim travel ban, which was actually started by Obama, would he have beaten him? Not a chance in hell. Will the UK Labour Party batter the Conservatives at the 2022 local elections because of the Rwanda plan and Partygate? Or will the Labour Party win because they have better policies? In fact, what are the Labour Party policies? Here's a conclusion. Close to every election since 1992, the left-wing and liberal media, mainly in the States, will jump on a story, push it for weeks, and frame it to make you conclude that their opposition, not your opposition, is racist and or inhumane. By doing this, their aim is to make you think that only a racist, immoral, money-grabbing, cold, callous, monstrous ish would vote for their opposition or support them. This mindset, in you, and action, by you, was what the left-wing media was trying to achieve when they pumped the George Floyd killing on every one of their channels just before the 2020 elections. This mindset and action by you is what the left-wing media was trying to achieve when they pumped the Rodney King beating and subsequent LA riots on all their channels before the 1992 US elections. And the liberal media was trying the same thing with the timing of when they released the Child Q report, which was shortly before the UK local elections of 2022. They were trying to influence who you would support, and they were trying to influence who you would vote for in the election. They were trying to influence you by lying by omission, omitting pertinent facts. And the left-wing media are trying hard to do the same thing this time around with this Priti Patel Rwanda plan. That's why Tom Schwarbrick of LBC Radio didn't tell you that Tony Blair and the Labour Party were the first political party in the UK who actually tried to ship black people back to Africa. Tony Blair and the Labour Party, not Australia. Tony Blair. It wasn't the Australians. It wasn't the Tories. It was the Labour Party under Tony Blair that wanted to send black people back to Africa. They were the first ones who wanted to send black people back to Africa. This is Black Think Tank. Tell us what they told you to think.